In the stillness after Compline, the world slows to the pace of candlelight. The sounds of the day have faded, leaving only the creak of old wood and the whisper of the wind. Tonight we settle in beside the quiet work of the 12th century, for a sunrise at Angkor Wat. Let the centuries fall away, sink gently into your pillow. The day is done, and you are safe to rest. Let your eyelids grow pleasantly heavy. This is quiet history. Now, let us begin. The air, thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming jasmine, hangs heavy over the vast waters of the moat. Here, in the 12th century, the kingdom of the Khmer rests in a profound velvet silence. The stars, bright and unwavering, reflect upon the mirror-like surface of the great lake that surrounds the temple city of Angkor Wat. It is the hour before the first hint of light, a time when the world feels suspended between the earthly realm and the heavens above. You stand at the edge of the western causeway where the massive blocks of sandstone have been smoothed by the passage of countless bare feet. The water, dark and deep, laps softly against the stone steps, a rhythmic sound that anchors the mind to the present moment. In the distance, the silhouettes of the 5 great towers rise like lotus buds against the indigo sky, their presence both immense and protective. Everything is still, save for the occasional ripple of a fish or the distant, muffled call of a night bird hidden in the forest canopy. The humidity of the jungle is a warm embrace, carrying with it the ancient smells of wood smoke and dried spices from the nearby villages. As you begin to walk slowly across the causeway, the sound of your footsteps is absorbed by the heavy atmosphere. The sandstone beneath you still retains a whisper of the previous day's heat, a gentle warmth that rises through the soles of your feet. To your left and right, the giant stone serpents, the nagas, stretch out their multi-headed hoods, guarding the path into the sacred heart of the empire. Each step forward is a movement deeper into a world of stone and spirit. The causeway is wide, built to accommodate processions of kings and priests. Yet now it belongs only to the quiet of the night. The shadows are long and soft, stretching across the masonry in intricate patterns that seem to shift with the flickering of a distant torch. There is no rush here, only the steady, measured pace of a time that moves by the cycles of the moon and the rising of the sun. You approach the great outer gateway, the Gopura, where the stone walls rise up to meet the stars. The carvings on the walls are barely visible in the low light, but you can feel their presence, the thousands of celestial dancers, the apsaras, frozen in their eternal movements. Their stone faces are serene, their eyes closed in a meditation that has lasted for decades. You reach out a hand to touch the cool, textured surface of a pillar, feeling the delicate ridges of the chisel marks left by a craftsman long ago. Inside the gateway, the air changes, becoming cooler and more fragrant with the scent of old stone and incense. The corridors are long and narrow, their ceilings lost in the darkness above. A single oil lamp flickers in a wall niche, its small flame casting a golden glow on the bas-reliefs that line the walls. These are the stories of gods and heroes, of great battles and divine interventions, carved with a precision that defies the hardness of the rock. You walk past them slowly, letting the flickering light breathe life into the silent figures. In a small courtyard nearby, the sound of a bamboo broom sweeping across stone reaches your ears. It is a dry, rhythmic scratch, the sound of a monk preparing the path for the morning prayers. He moves with a slow, deliberate grace, his saffron robes appearing like a shadow against the grey stone. He does not look up, his focus entirely on the simple task at hand. This is the routine of the temple, a cycle of care and devotion that begins long before the world wakes. You find a quiet spot near a stone library, a small building with tiered roofs that sits alone in the grassy enclosure. The grass is cool and wet with dew, a refreshing contrast to the dry stone of the galleries. From here the view of the central towers is unobstructed. They seem to grow taller as you watch, their dark shapes becoming more defined against the fading night. The sky is beginning to shift, the deep indigo turning to a soft charcoal grey at the very edge of the horizon. The jungle beyond the temple walls is starting to stir. You can hear the low melodic hooting of gibbons echoing through the trees, a sound that carries for miles in the still air. It is a wild, prehistoric music that reminds you of the vast wilderness that surrounds this island of stone. The trees, ancient and towering, stand like sentinels at the edge of the clearing, their leaves whispering in a light breeze that has just begun to blow. Inside one of the inner galleries, the scent of sandalwood becomes stronger. It drifts from a small shrine where a bundle of incense sticks has been lit. Their glowing red tips like tiny stars in the gloom, the smoke rises in thin silver ribbons, curling around the feet of a bronze statue of Vishnu. The god is draped in faded silk, his many arms holding the symbols of his power, his expression one of infinite peace. You linger here for a moment, breathing in the stillness and the sweet woody aroma. The stones of the floor are uneven, worn down by the knees of the faithful. You find yourself noticing the small details, the way the moss grows in the crevices, the smooth patches where the stone has been polished by touch, the faint smell of rain-soaked earth that lingers in the corners. There is a sense of weight here, not just the weight of the massive blocks of sandstone, but the weight of time and the millions of prayers that have been whispered within these walls. As you move toward the second enclosure, the architecture becomes even more intricate. The stairs are steep, designed to make the climber slow down and reflect on their journey. You ascend slowly, your breath steady and calm. At the top, you reach a high gallery that overlooks the lower courtyards. The view is expansive, showing the geometric perfection of the temple layout, a mountain of stone built to represent the center of the universe. A light mist is beginning to rise from the moat, drifting across the grassy fields like a ghostly veil. It softens the edges of the buildings, making the temple feel like it is floating on a cloud. The air is slightly cooler now, the pre-dawn chill beginning to settle. You wrap your cloak tighter around your shoulders, feeling the texture of the fabric against your skin. The silence is no longer empty, it is full of the anticipation of the coming day. In the distance, you see the faint glow of more torches moving along the outer walls. The temple guards are making their rounds. Their footsteps a distant, rhythmic thud. They carry spears that glint in the torchlight, their silhouettes tall and imposing. They move with the confidence of those who know every corner of this sacred place, their presence a reminder of the power and reach of the Khmer Empire. You pass a small pond within the temple grounds, its surface covered in lotus flowers. In the dim light, the petals are closed, waiting for the first touch of the sun to open. They are pale ghosts on the dark water, their long stems reaching down into the mud. The lotus is a symbol of purity and rebirth, a fitting inhabitant of this holy place. You stop to watch them for a minute, marveling at their quiet, unmoving beauty. The sky is now a pale violet, the stars beginning to fade one by one. The transition is subtle, a gradual thinning of the darkness that reveals more and more of the temple's grandeur. You can now see the delicate carvings on the roofline, the rows of stone birds and mythical creatures that guard the heights. The craftsmanship is staggering, every inch of the temple covered in some form of art or devotion. You walk toward the central sanctuary, the highest point of Angkor Wat. The climb is even steeper here, a physical challenge that requires focus and intent. The air feels thinner, cleaner as you rise above the mist. When you reach the top level, you are greeted by a sense of immense space. The four galleries surround a central chamber where the most sacred image of the temple resides. The silence here is absolute, a heavy, sacred quiet that commands respect. You sit on the edge of the stone terrace, looking out toward the east. The horizon is now lined with a thin ribbon of gold, the first true sign that the sun is approaching. The world below is still in shadow, the mist thick in the trees and over the water. But up here, the light is already changing. the grey stone beginning to take on a faint rosy hue. You feel a sense of profound calm, a connection to the cycles of the earth and the heavens. The first birds of the morning begin their songs, a complex tapestry of whistles and chirps that fills the air. It is a joyful sound, a celebration of the return of the light. The temple seems to wake up with them, the stones themselves appearing to breathe as the shadows retreat. You can hear the distant sound of a conch shell being blown, a deep resonating note that signals the start of the morning rituals. As you sit in the growing light, you realize that this moment has been repeated for centuries, a timeless ritual of stone and sun. The empire may change, and the people may come and go, but the temple remains, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who built it. The gold on the horizon spreads, turning the sky into a canvas of orange and pink, as the 5 towers of Angkor Wat prepare to greet another day in the heart of the jungle. The golden ribbon on the horizon widens, casting a soft amber glow that begins to spill over the outer walls of the great temple. Below you, the vast courtyard of Angkor Wat emerges from the indigo shadows, revealing the intricate geometry of the sandstone paths and the low rectangular libraries that sit like silent sentinels on the grass. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and the faint, sweet perfume of night-blooming jasmine, still lingering in the cool recesses of the stone. You stand at the edge of the upper terrace, watching as the first light touches the tips of the 5 towers. They look like lotus buds carved from mountain peaks, their surfaces alive with the play of light and shadow. The grey stone, once cold and imposing, now begins to radiate a subtle warmth, as if the sun is breathing life back into the ancient rock. You take a slow, deep breath, feeling the stillness of the morning settle into your bones. From this height, you can see the movement of the temple attendants below, their figures small and graceful as they move about their morning tasks. They are like shadows themselves, silent and purposeful as they prepare the temple for the day's rituals. You hear the rhythmic scrape of a palm leaf broom against the sandstone, a steady, soothing sound that echoes through the empty courtyards. It is a sound that has marked the beginning of every day for generations, a humble prayer of maintenance and care. You begin your descent from the central sanctuary, your bare feet finding the familiar worn grooves in the steep stone steps. Each step is a deliberate movement, a grounding exercise that connects you to the physical reality of this sacred place. The stone is cool beneath your soles, a contrast to the growing warmth of the air. As you descend, the sounds of the jungle become more distinct, the calls of the macaques and the rustle of the wind in the palm fronds, creating a natural symphony. You reach the level of the 3rd enclosure, where the great galleries stretch out in long, shadowed corridors. Here, the walls are covered from floor to ceiling with the stories of the gods and the kings. You walk slowly along the gallery of the churning of the sea of milk, your hand trailing lightly over the smooth surface of the stone. The light, though still soft, begins to catch the intricate details of the bas-reliefs, where gods and demons pull at the great serpent, Vasuki. You can see the tension in their stone muscles, the determination in their faces, frozen in a struggle that has lasted for centuries. The detail is staggering. The scales of the serpent, the jewels on the crowns of the gods, the churning water filled with fish and mythical creatures. It is a world in stone, a testament to the skill and devotion of the thousands of craftsmen who labored here. You stop for a moment to admire a particular figure, a celestial dancer or apsara, her hands held in a delicate symbolic gesture. Her smile is enigmatic, a reflection of the peace that permeates this place. There are thousands of these apsaras throughout the temple, each one unique, each one a guardian of the sacred space. You feel their presence all around you, a silent audience to your morning walk. The gallery is cool and quiet, a sanctuary within a sanctuary, where the noise of the outside world feels like a distant memory. You move toward the Northern Library, a small, elegant building that stands alone in the courtyard. The stone here is a different hue, a deeper red that glows in the morning light. Inside, the air is dry and smells of old parchment and cedarwood. This is a place of study and reflection where the sacred texts are kept and the wisdom of the ages is preserved. You can see the empty niches where the scrolls would be placed, the stone polished by the hands of countless scholars. Outside the library, a small group of monks in saffron robes walks toward the central sanctuary. Their movement is fluid and synchronized, a river of color against the gray stone. They walk in silence, their heads bowed in contemplation, their presence adding a layer of living devotion to the temple. You watch them pass, feeling a sense of respect for their commitment and their quiet strength. They are the keepers of the flame, the ones who ensure that the rituals are performed and the traditions are upheld. You walk toward the northern reflecting pond, the water still and dark, a perfect mirror for the 5 towers. The sky is now a brilliant tapestry of orange, pink and gold, the colors vibrating with intensity. The reflection in the pond is so clear that it is hard to tell where the stone ends and the water begins. You sit on the edge of the pond, watching as the first rays of the sun finally crest the horizon, hitting the central tower with a burst of light. The effect is transformative, the entire temple suddenly bathed in a radiant golden glow. The shadows retreat into the corners, and the stone seems to glow from within. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated beauty, a sight that has inspired awe in the hearts of pilgrims for hundreds of years. You feel a sense of profound gratitude to be here, to witness this daily miracle in the heart of the Khmer Empire. The heat of the sun begins to make itself felt, a gentle warmth on your skin that signals the end of the cool morning hours. You hear the distant sound of a gong, a deep, resonant tone that signals the start of the first formal prayers. It is a call to worship, a reminder of the spiritual purpose of this magnificent structure. You rise from the edge of the pond, your movements slow and deliberate, and begin to walk toward the outer gate. You pass through a courtyard where a group of stone carvers is beginning their work for the day. They sit on low wooden benches, their chisels and mallets ready. You hear the first tentative taps of metal on stone, a sound that will grow into a steady rhythm as the day progresses. They are working on a new section of the wall, their movements precise and practiced. You watch for a moment, marveling at the patience and the skill required to turn a block of sandstone into a work of art. The air is now filled with the scent of wood smoke and cooking food coming from the kitchens near the outer walls. You can see the thin plumes of smoke rising into the clear blue sky, a sign that the temple community is waking up and preparing for the day. The smell is comforting, a reminder of the human element of this sacred place, the daily needs and routines that sustain the people who live and work here. You reach the outer gallery where the light is now bright and clear. The carvings here depict the lives of the ordinary people, the soldiers, the farmers, the traders. You see scenes of bustling markets, of festivals and parades, of everyday life in the Khmer Empire. It is a vibrant, living history, a reminder that the temple was not just a place of worship, but the center of a vast and complex society. You walk along the causeway, the great moat stretching out on either side of you. The water is covered in lotus leaves, their green surfaces dotted with the bright pink and white of the flowers. The moat is a symbol of the cosmic ocean, the temple itself representing Mount Meru, the center of the universe. As you walk, you feel a sense of being between worlds, between the sacred and the profane, the eternal and the temporal. The sun is now high enough to cast long, dramatic shadows across the causeway, the stone pillars of the gatehouse creating a rhythmic pattern of light and dark. You stop to look back at the temple, its 5 towers standing proud against the sky. It is a sight that never fails to move you, a testament to the vision and the ambition of the Khmer kings. You feel a sense of peace and fulfillment, a connection to something much larger than yourself. You pass a small shrine near the entrance, where an old woman is lighting a stick of incense. The smoke curls into the air, carrying her prayers to the gods. You stop to offer a silent prayer of your own, a gesture of thanks for the beauty and the stillness of the morning. The woman smiles at you, a warm, genuine smile that transcends language and culture. It is a moment of human connection, a reminder of the shared spirit that unites us all. As you exit the main gate, you feel the energy of the day beginning to pick up. The sound of voices, the clatter of carts, the bustle of the nearby village, all these sounds drift toward you on the warm breeze. The quiet of the temple is behind you, but you carry its peace within you, a shield against the noise and the distractions of the world. You walk slowly, savoring the last moments of the morning's tranquility. The path ahead leads toward the forest, where the ancient trees stand tall and silent, their roots entwined with the stones of lesser-known ruins. You find yourself drawn toward the deeper shade, where the light is filtered through a canopy of emerald leaves, and the air remains cool and heavy with the scent of damp moss. As you step into the green twilight of the jungle, the transition is seamless, a movement from one sacred space into another, guided by the quiet whispers of the earth. The forest around you is a vast and living thing, breathing with the weight of the morning humidity. Here, beneath the high canopy of teak and rosewood, the light is filtered into 1,000 soft and shifting greens. You feel the dampness of the air against your skin, a heavy and comforting blanket that smells of wet leaves and ancient stone. As you walk, the sound of the temple fades, replaced by the rhythmic thrum of the jungle. Somewhere high above, a tropical bird calls out, a long and liquid note that echoes through the trees. Beneath your feet, the path is soft with a carpet of decaying leaves and silver moss that cushions every slow and deliberate step. You come upon a small stone bridge, crossing a narrow stream that trickles quietly over smooth pebbles. The water is clear and dark, reflecting the overhanging ferns and the pale glow of the sky far above. You pause for a moment, listening to the gentle gurgle of the water, a sound that has remained unchanged for hundreds of years. Ahead, a secondary gatehouse stands half swallowed by the roots of a massive banyan tree. The roots, thick and grey like the limbs of a giant creature, wrap themselves around the carved sandstone pillars. They pry the stones apart with a slow and relentless strength, a silent struggle between the works of man and the power of the earth. You pass through the gate and find yourself in a small clearing where a stone cutter has set up his workshop. A simple thatch lean-to provides shade from the rising sun, which is now beginning to pierce through the leaves. On a low wooden bench lie the tools of the trade, heavy iron chisels and wooden mallets worn smooth by years of use. A large block of grey sandstone sits in the center of the clearing, its surface already marked with the faint outlines of a celestial dancer. You can almost hear the ghost of the chisels strike, the steady clink, clink, clink that rings out through the woods. It is a slow and patient labor, a conversation between the craftsman and the stone that will last for generations. The scent of wood smoke drifts toward you, thin and blue against the deep green of the foliage. In a corner of the clearing, a small fire smoulders beneath a clay pot where a simple meal of rice and dried fish is steaming. The aroma is earthy and familiar, a reminder of the humble needs that sustain the builders of these great monuments. You follow a winding trail deeper into the trees where the air grows cooler and the shadows lengthen. Here you find a hidden shrine, no larger than a small room, its walls covered in delicate carvings of lotus flowers. The stone is cool to the touch, and you can feel the fine grain of the sand and the damp velvet of the moss that grows in the crevices. An old monk, dressed in faded saffron robes, is quietly sweeping the stone floor of the shrine. The sound of his bamboo broom against the sandstone is a soft rhythmic shush, shush, shush that fills the silence. He does not look up as you pass, his movements steady and mindful, a form of meditation in itself. Beside the shrine, a narrow stone stairwell leads down into a cool, shadowed vault beneath the earth. You descend slowly, the air becoming heavy with the smell of incense and old dust. In the center of the vault, a single candle burns, its flame steady and bright, casting long dancing shadows against the walls. This is a place of deep and ancient stillness, a sanctuary away from the world and the light. You sit for a moment on a low stone ledge, letting the silence wash over you like cool water. Here the passage of time feels slow and meaningless, as if the stones themselves are breathing in a long and eternal sleep. When you emerge back into the forest, the light has shifted, turning the green canopy into a sea of gold. You find a small pond, its surface perfectly still, reflecting the towering trees and the soft white clouds. A group of bright blue butterflies flutters near the water's edge, their wings catching the light like living jewels. You walk along the edge of a small canal, its banks lined with blocks of stone waiting to be moved. Some of the stones are unfinished, their surfaces rough and jagged, while others are smooth and ready for the carver's hand. They lie in the tall grass like sleeping giants, waiting to take their place in the grand design of the temple. A wooden platform has been built against the side of a crumbling wall, where workers are repairing the masonry. The scent of fresh lime mortar is sharp and clean, mixing with the sweet smell of the forest. You watch for a moment as a worker carefully fits a new stone into place, his hands sure and practiced in the ancient ways. High above, the bamboo scaffolding creaks gently in the breeze, a sound that is both fragile and strong. It is a reminder of the human effort and the ingenuity that built this city stone by stone over many decades. The forest may try to reclaim these walls, but the spirit of the builders remains etched into every surface. You find an offering basket, left at the base of a giant fig tree filled with bright yellow marigolds and a small bowl of rice. The flowers are fresh, their petals still damp with the morning dew, a simple and beautiful gesture of faith. It is a connection between the people and the spirits of the land, a bond that is as old as the forest itself. Through a gap in the trees you catch a distant glimpse of the central towers of Angkor Wat rising above the canopy. They look different from here, more organic, as if they too grew out of the earth along with the trees. The sun is now high enough to illuminate the very tips of the spires, making them glow like beacons of light. You turn away from the view and continue along the path, which now leads toward a quiet glade. The morning mist is still clinging to the ground, swirling around the trunks of the trees in soft white ribbons. The air is silent, save for the distant hum of insects and the occasional rustle of a leaf falling to the earth. In the center of the glade sits a small stone, well, its circular rim worn smooth by the ropes of many generations. You lean over the edge and see the reflection of your own face in the dark, still water far below. It is a moment of quiet reflection, a chance to see yourself as a part of this long and continuous history. The path ahead begins to widen, and the trees grow, thinner, as you approach the edge of the forest. You can feel the warmth of the sun on your face, and the air feels lighter and more open. You walk slowly, savoring the last moments of the forest's cool embrace before stepping back into the bright and busy world of the morning. As the jungle recedes, the sounds of the living city begin to rise again, a gentle tide of human activity that pulls you forward. The path opens into a wide, dusty lane where the first houses of the city begin to appear through the morning haze. These are not the stone giants of the gods, but the warm wooden homes of the people who serve them in the heart of the empire. Raised high on thick teak stilts to escape the coming rains, they stand like long-legged birds among the palms and the fruit trees. The thatch of the roofs is thick and golden in the rising sun, catching the light and throwing long, soft shadows across the ground. You can see the intricate carvings on the window frames and the sturdy ladders that lead to the living quarters above. It is a world of wood and fiber, a soft and organic contrast to the cold and eternal stone of the great temples. Beneath one of the houses, a woman is already at work, her movements slow and rhythmic as she sweeps the dirt yard with a broom made of stiff palm ribs. The sound of the broom against the earth is a dry and soothing rasp, a whisper of domestic care that signals the start of the day. She moves with a quiet grace, her sarong tied neatly at her waist, her feet bare and familiar with the cool morning soil. A small ceramic jar sits nearby, filled with water for the dust to keep the air clear and sweet. There is no hurry in her work, only a steady and peaceful devotion to the space she calls her own in the shadow of the spires. Further along the lane, a narrow canal cuts through the neighborhood, its water dark and still, reflecting the pale blue of the morning sky. A wooden bridge, arched and elegant, spans the water, its timbers worn smooth by the passage of countless feet over many years. Nearby, a water buffalo stands knee-deep in the shallows, its heavy head lowered as it drinks with a slow and steady rhythm. The sound of the water rippling against its flanks is a soft and liquid music that blends with the distant calls of the forest birds. The air here is cooler and damp, carrying the scent of wet earth and the faint, sweet perfume of the lotus flowers that float on the surface. Wisps of blue smoke begin to curl from the eaves of the houses as the morning fires are lit for the first meal of the day. The scent of wood smoke is comforting and familiar, mixing with the sharp and pungent aroma of fermented fish and the sweet steam of jasmine rice. In a small outdoor kitchen, a clay stove glows with a soft orange light as a pot of soup begins to bubble and hiss. A young girl sits on a low stool fanning the embers with a woven leaf, her face illuminated by the gentle flickering of the flames. It is a scene of quiet domesticity, a moment of preparation and nourishment before the heat of the day takes hold. In a shaded courtyard, a potter is already at his wheel, his hands coated in the grey and slippery clay of the riverbank. He kicks the heavy stone wheel into motion, and it spins with a low and steady hum, a sound that feels like the heartbeat of the earth itself. With a practiced touch, he pulls the clay upward, shaping it into a tall and elegant vessel, its walls thin and even. The wet clay glistens in the soft light, catching the reflection of the trees above as it takes its final and perfect form. He works in silence, his mind focused on the task, his movements a dance of skill and patience that has been passed down through the generations. Nearby, under the broad shade of a jackfruit tree, a weaver sits at her loom, the wooden frame creaking gently as she throws the shuttle back and forth. The threads of silk are dyed in deep and vibrant colors of indigo and madder and gold, creating a pattern that is as complex as the forest itself. The rhythmic clack of the loom is a steady and hypnotic sound, a heartbeat of industry that fills the quiet morning air. She pauses for a moment to adjust a thread, her fingers nimble and sure, before continuing her work with a focused and steady gaze. Each row of silk is a testament to her skill, a fragment of beauty that will one day be worn in the great processions of the city. A group of children play quietly in the dust near a small neighborhood shrine, their voices low and hushed as they move, their wooden toys through the dirt. The shrine is simple, made of weathered wood and stone, but it is decorated with fresh flowers and a single flickering candle. A small bowl of fruit has been placed at the feet of the spirit house, an offering of gratitude for the safety and health of the family. The children are careful not to disturb the sacred space, their play a gentle and respectful part of the morning's quiet rhythm. The sun filters through the leaves of the trees above, casting a dappled light over the scene, making it feel like a memory caught in amber. A gardener is tending to a small plot of herbs and vegetables, his movements slow and deliberate as he pulls a few weeds from the rich, dark soil. He carries a pair of wooden buckets balanced on a pole across his shoulders, the water sloshing gently as he moves between the rows. The scent of crushed mint and lemongrass rises from the garden, a sharp and refreshing fragrance that cuts through the morning warmth. He pours a careful stream of water at the base of a flowering vine, his face etched with the lines of a life spent in the sun. It is a simple and vital work, a stewardship of the land that provides the food and the medicine for the people of the city. At the edge of a great reservoir or barai, the water stretches out like a sheet of polished silver, its surface unbroken by the morning breeze. People are gathered at the water's edge, washing clothes and filling jars, their movements creating soft ripples that spread slowly across the surface. The sound of the water being poured and the soft slap of wet cloth against the stone steps is a rhythmic and soothing sound. A small wooden boat glides silently across the distance, its rower a dark silhouette against the bright reflection of the rising sun. The barai is the lifeblood of the city, a vast and shimmering reminder of the ingenuity and the power of the Khmer people. You pass by a small neighborhood temple, its stone walls weathered and covered in a fine layer of green moss that feels soft to the touch. It is less grand than the great temple of Angkor, but it possesses a quiet and intimate beauty that is all its own. A single monk in a faded saffron robe is sweeping the courtyard, his movements slow and mindful, a meditation in motion. The scent of incense wafts from the open doorway, a sweet and heavy fragrance that lingers in the still air. You stop for a moment to bow your head, in respect, feeling the deep and ancient peace that resides within these sacred walls. The sound of a carpenter's mallet, striking a wooden chisel, echoes through the lane, a sharp and rhythmic sound that speaks of creation and craft. He is working on a thick beam of teak, carving a complex joint that will hold the weight of a new house for many years to come. The scent of fresh wood shavings is sweet and clean, mixing with the earthy smell of the dust and the trees. He pauses to wipe the sweat from his brow, his hands calloused and strong, the tools of his trade laid out neatly beside him. It is a work of precision and strength, a building of the future that is grounded in the traditions of the past. In the shade of a small veranda, a basket weaver sits, cross-legged, his fingers moving with a blur of speed and precision as he weaves the thin strips of bamboo. The basket is taking shape, a sturdy and functional object that will be used to carry rice or fish in the market. The dry rustle of the bamboo is a crisp and satisfying sound, a small and steady music that accompanies his work. He does not look up as you pass, his focus entirely on the pattern of the weave, his mind and body in perfect harmony. It is a simple and beautiful craft, a transformation of the natural world into something useful and enduring. A merchant is beginning to arrange his wares on a low wooden platform, his movements careful and deliberate as he displays the morning's harvest. There are piles of bright orange mangoes and clusters of small sweet bananas and the spiky green skins of durian fruit. The colors are vibrant and rich, a feast for the eyes in the soft morning light that filters through the canopy. He handles the fruit with a gentle care, as if each piece were a precious jewel, his face calm and welcoming. The scent of the ripe fruit is heavy and sweet, a promise of the abundance and the generosity of the tropical land. A line of monks walks silently down the lane, their saffron robes a bright and startling contrast to the earthy tones of the houses and the trees. They move with a slow and measured pace, their heads bowed in contemplation, their arms, bowls held steadily in their hands. People step out from their houses to place a small scoop of rice into the bowls, a silent and beautiful exchange of merit and devotion. The only sound is the soft scuff of their feet on the dusty ground, a rhythmic and peaceful pulse that moves through the city. It is a reminder of the spiritual heart of the empire, a connection between the mundane and the divine that is woven into the fabric of daily life. From the distance, the deep and resonant sound of a bronze gong echoes through the air, signaling the passing of the hour and the progress of the morning. The sound is low and vibrating, a heavy and golden tone that seems to hang in the air long after the strike has ended. It is a sound that everyone in the city knows and respects, a marker of time that is both human and eternal. You feel the vibration in your chest, a gentle and grounding sensation that pulls you deeper into the present moment. The city responds to the sound with a subtle shift in energy, a quiet and collective recognition of the day's unfolding. Near the city walls, a stonecarver's workshop is a hive of quiet activity, the air thick with the fine white dust of the sandstone. Several carvers are at work, their chisels biting into the soft stone, creating the intricate reliefs of gods and demons and celestial dancers. The sound of the many hammers is a complex and layered percussion, a symphony of craft that fills the open-air studio. Each stroke is precise and intentional, a slow and steady revelation of the beauty that lies hidden within the stone. You watch as a face begins to emerge. From the block, its expression one of serene and timeless peace, a reflection of the empire's soul. A large elephant is led down the road by its mahout, its heavy footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust that covers the ground. The great animal moves with a slow and swaying grace, its trunk curling and uncurling as it scents the morning air. The mahout sits high on its neck, his movements subtle and sure as he guides the beast toward the city gates. The elephant's skin is gray and wrinkled like the bark of an ancient tree, its eyes wise and calm as it surveys the world around it. It is a symbol of power and strength, but also of the deep and symbiotic relationship between the people and the creatures of the forest. You cross a small wooden bridge over a narrow stream that is filled with the bright pink and white blooms of the lotus flowers. The water is clear and shallow, flowing gently over a bed of smooth river stones and green waving weeds. A few small fish dart among the stems, their silver scales flashing in the sunlight that reaches the water's surface. The air is filled with the soft hum of dragonflies, their iridescent wings glittering as they hover above the blossoms. It is a place of quiet and natural beauty, a small and perfect sanctuary in the heart of the busy and living city. In a large courtyard, mats of woven straw are spread, out on the ground, covered in a thick layer of white rice that is drying in the sun. An old woman moves slowly among the mats, using a wooden rake to turn the grain so that it dries evenly in the morning heat. The sound of the rice sliding against the straw is a dry and whispering sound, a music of the harvest and the earth's bounty. The scent of the drying grain is warm and nutty, a comforting and wholesome fragrance that fills the courtyard. It is a work of patience and care, a final step in the long journey from the field to the table. You look back toward the edge of the forest, where the trees stand like a dark and silent wall against the bright blue of the sky. The city of Angkor is now fully awake, a vibrant and living tapestry of human activity and natural beauty that stretches out in all directions. The sun is climbing higher, casting a brilliant and golden light over the wooden houses and the stone temples and the shimmering water. You feel a sense of deep and quiet wonder at the scale and the beauty of this ancient world and the simple rhythms of life that sustain it. The morning is now in full bloom, and the city of Angkor is a living, breathing tapestry of light and sound that leads you deeper into its heart. You walk further along the narrow, shaded path where the earth is cool and damp beneath your feet. The sounds of the main thoroughfare begin to fade, replaced by the soft, rhythmic clacking of a loom nearby. It is a steady, comforting sound, like a heartbeat echoing through the trees. You find yourself at the entrance of a small wooden house where a weaver sits at her work. Inside, the air is still and carries the faint scent of dried grasses and natural dyes. The weaver's hands move with a practiced grace, passing a wooden shuttle back and forth through the fine silk threads. The silk is a deep shimmering gold, the color of the morning sun caught in a web of fabric. Each movement is precise, a testament to years of patient labor and tradition. The loom itself is made of heavy, dark timber worn smooth by generations of use. You can see the intricate patterns beginning to emerge in the cloth, geometric shapes that tell stories of the earth and the sky. The weaver does not look up, her focus entirely on the interplay of thread and wood. It is a quiet meditation, a dance of fingers that creates something of lasting beauty. Outside, the path leads toward a secondary canal where the water is dark and still, reflecting the overhanging palms. A small wooden boat glides silently along the surface, its hull laden with bundles of green morning glory and purple lotus stems. The boatman uses a long bamboo pole to push against the muddy bottom, his movements slow and effortless. The ripples from the boat spread outward, gently disturbing the reflection of the trees. Along the banks of the canal, the houses are built on high wooden stilts to protect them from the seasonal floods. The wood is grey and weathered, silvered by the sun and the rain over many years. Small ladders lead from the water's edge up to the shaded porches where families gather in the heat of the day. You hear the soft murmur of voices and the distant splash of a child playing in the shallows. You come to a small stone building known as a satralaya or a house of fire, where travelers find rest. The walls are thick and cool, made of heavy blocks of laterite and sandstone that have stood for centuries. Inside, the light is dim, providing a welcome relief from the growing intensity of the morning sun. A few weary pilgrims sit on the stone floor, their faces calm and reflective as they share a simple meal. In a corner of the chamber, a scribe is at work hunched over a long, narrow strip of dried palm leaf. He uses a sharp iron stylus to etch delicate characters into the surface of the leaf, his hand steady and sure. The scratching of the stylus is a tiny, persistent sound, the only noise in the quiet room. He is recording the prayers and the history of the people, preserving their wisdom for the generations to come. When the leaf is finished, he rubs a mixture of soot and oil into the etchings, making the letters stand out in sharp black relief. The scent of the oil is pungent and earthy, filling the small space with a sense of ancient knowledge. The finished leaves are bound together with silk cords, forming a sacred book that will be kept in the temple library. It is a labor of devotion, a quiet act of service to the gods and the empire. Leaving the house of fire, you follow a walkway lined with carved stone balustrades shaped like the body of a great serpent. The naga, its many heads reared back in a pose of protection, seems to watch over the path with silent vigilance. The stone is warm to the touch, having absorbed the heat of the climbing sun. You can see the fine details of the scales and the fierce expression of the serpent's face, carved with incredible skill. The path opens into a wide courtyard where a master potter is shaping a large water jar on a wooden wheel. The clay is a rich, reddish brown, wet and glistening as it spins beneath his skilled hands. He uses a piece of smooth wood to refine the shape of the vessel, his touch light and sure. The sound of the wheel turning is a soft, rhythmic whirring that blends with the sounds of the city. Nearby, several finished jars are stacked in the shade, their surfaces decorated with simple, elegant patterns of lines and dots. These vessels will carry the life-giving water from the canals to the homes and temples of Angkor. The potter works with a quiet intensity, his brow furrowed in concentration as he creates something both functional and beautiful. It is a craft as old as the city itself, a connection to the very earth on which it stands. You pass by a small kitchen garden where the air is thick with the fragrance of fresh herbs and spices. Long green stalks of lemongrass sway in the breeze, while clusters of bright red chilies hang from the plants. An old man is carefully weeding the beds, his movements slow and deliberate as he tends to the precious crop. He pauses to wipe his brow and looks up at the sky, his eyes squinting in the bright light. The scent of crushed ginger and turmeric wafts from a stone mortar where a woman is grinding spices for the midday meal. The rhythmic thud of the pestle against the stone is a familiar and comforting sound, a heartbeat of the domestic life. The garden is a lush and green oasis, providing both food and medicine for the people who live nearby. It is a place of growth and nourishment tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. Further, along the path you reach a shaded gallery that overlooks the great moat surrounding the main temple. The water is a deep, shimmering blue, reflecting the clear morning sky and the towering spires of Angkor Wat. A group of saffron-robed monks walks slowly along the edge of the water, their heads bowed in silent meditation. The bright orange of their robes is a striking contrast to the grey stone and the green foliage. They carry simple wooden alms bowls, their presents, a reminder of the spiritual heart of this great city. The sound of their footsteps is soft and rhythmic as they move with a quiet and peaceful grace. You watch as they disappear into the shadows of a stone gateway, their presence leaving a sense of calm and tranquility in the air. The temple is a place of constant prayer and reflection, a sanctuary for the soul. In a nearby workshop, a stone carver's apprentice is sharpening his iron chisels on a flat whetstone. The sound of the metal scraping against the stone is sharp and rhythmic, a necessary preparation for the day's work. He works with a quiet diligence, his hands covered in a fine layer of grey dust. Behind him, a large block of sandstone sits waiting for the first strokes of the chisel to reveal the form within. You can see the faint outlines of a celestial dancer, an apsara sketched onto the surface of the stone. Her limbs are graceful and fluid, her expression one of eternal joy and serenity. The apprentice looks at the sketch with a sense of reverence, knowing that his work will contribute to the glory of the temple. It is a long and demanding apprenticeship, but one that carries the weight of history and tradition. The sun is now high in the sky, casting short and sharp shadows across the stone courtyards and the wooden houses. The air is warm and heavy with the sounds and scents of the living city, a vibrant tapestry of human endeavor. You feel a sense of deep and quiet connection to the people of Angkor and the simple rhythms of their daily lives. The city is a masterpiece of stone and water, but it is also a place of humble and enduring beauty. You move toward a grand stone staircase that leads up to one of the temple's higher galleries. The steps are worn and uneven, smoothed by the feet of countless pilgrims and priests over the centuries. As you climb, the view expands, revealing the vast and intricate layout of the temple complex stretching out toward the horizon. The towers rise like stone mountains against the blue sky, their summits crowned with the golden light of the morning. From this vantage point, you can see the many layers of the city, the temples, the houses, the canals and the forest, all woven together in a single and harmonious whole. The rhythms of life continue below, a quiet and steady pulse that sustains the heart of the empire. You pause to catch your breath and look out over the magnificent landscape as the path leads you toward the inner sanctum of the great temple. The air within these high stone galleries is noticeably cooler than the sun-drenched courtyards below. As you step from the brightness of the staircase into the shaded corridor, the heat of the morning seems to retreat, replaced by the damp and ancient scent of sandstone. The walls here are covered in thousands of tiny figures, carved with such precision that they seem to vibrate in the flickering light. You run your fingers along the cool stone, feeling the ridges and grooves of the celestial battles and royal processions that have lived here for generations. To your left, a series of narrow windows looks out over the inner courtyard where the shadows are beginning to shorten. The light spills across the floor in sharp geometric patterns, illuminating the fine dust dancing in the air. In the distance you hear the low and rhythmic chanting of monks, their voices echoing through the stone chambers like a deep and steady heartbeat. It is a sound that has filled these halls since the very first stone was laid, a prayer that never truly ends. Further along the gallery you come upon one of the temple libraries, a small and elegant stone building set apart from the main structure. Inside, the light is soft and amber, filtered through delicate stone lattices that break the sun into 1,000 tiny stars. A scribe sits, cross-legged, on a woven mat, his back straight and his focus unwavering. He is working on a series of palm leaf manuscripts, his iron stylus moving with a quiet and practiced grace. The leaves are long and narrow, dried to a pale gold and tied together with simple silk cords. With each stroke of the stylus, he carves the intricate script of the sacred texts into the surface of the leaf. The sound is a delicate scratch, a tiny and persistent rhythm that speaks of patience and devotion. When the carving is done, he will rub a mixture of soot and oil into the grooves, making the words appear bold and black against the gold. On the floor beside him are several finished manuscripts stacked neatly in carved wooden boxes. The scent of the ink is earthy and rich, a blend of charred wood and fragrant resins that fills the small room. This is the memory of the empire held in the quiet hands of a single man. You watch him for a moment, his hands moving with a steady and rhythmic certainty before you move back into the main gallery. The path now leads toward a small and secluded courtyard, hidden away from the main thoroughfares of the temple. In the center is a shallow stone basin filled with clear water, where several lotus flowers are beginning to open, their petals. The water is perfectly still, reflecting the blue sky and the towering spires of the temple above. A small garden of medicinal herbs grows along the edges of the courtyard, their leaves green and vibrant against the grey stone. An elderly herbalist is kneeling in the garden, her hands moving gently among the plants. She is gathering the leaves of the holy basil and the roots of turmeric, placing them carefully into a small wicker basket. The air is thick with the scent of crushed herbs, a sharp and refreshing aroma that cuts through the heavy heat of the day. She works with a quiet and focused energy, her movements slow and deliberate. Beside her, a heavy stone mortar and pestle sit on a flat rock ready to grind the herbs into healing pastes and powders. You can hear the soft thud of the pestle as she begins to crush the roots, a rhythmic and grounding sound. This small garden is a place of healing and peace, a quiet corner of the world where the simple power of nature is honored. The herbalist looks up and offers a small and knowing smile before returning to her work. You move toward the edge of the courtyard, where a stone lion head acts as a spout for the temple's intricate drainage system. A thin stream of water trickles from its mouth, falling into a small stone channel that leads away toward the outer moats. The sound of the water is a constant and soothing murmur, a reminder of the great engineering that sustains this city. The water is the lifeblood of Angkor, flowing through its heart and keeping its spirit alive. In a shaded porch nearby, a weaver is working at a large wooden loom, the shuttle flying back and forth with a rhythmic click-clack. She is weaving a piece of fine silk, the threads dyed in deep shades of indigo and madder red. The patterns are complex and geometric, reflecting the designs carved into the temple walls. Her feet move steadily on the pedals, her hands guiding the silk with a graceful and effortless precision. The fabric is soft and shimmering, catching the light as it grows inch by inch on the loom. Beside her, several hanks of dyed silk are hanging from the rafters, their colors rich and vibrant in the soft light. The scent of the dyes is slightly sweet and fermented, a smell that is both earthy and refined. This is the work of days and weeks, a labor of love and skill that will eventually clothe the priests and the royalty of the city. You pause to admire the intricate weave, the way the threads come together to create something of lasting beauty. The weaver does not look up, her focus entirely on the rhythm of the loom and the path of the shuttle. It is a meditation in motion, a quiet and steady creation that mirrors the building of the temple itself. Every thread, like every stone, has its place and its purpose in the grand design. As you leave the porch, the path turns back toward the central structure of the temple, where the towers rise like giant stone lotus buds. The sun is now reaching its zenith, and the light is intense and white, washing out the colors of the stone. The shadows have retreated into the deepest recesses of the galleries, leaving the courtyards in a state of bright and shimmering heat. You feel the warmth of the stone through the soles of your feet, a steady and grounding heat. In a small alcove, a bronze worker is polishing a large ritual bell, his movements slow and methodical. He uses a piece of rough cloth and a fine abrasive powder, rubbing the metal until it gleams like dark gold. The bell is decorated with scenes of celestial musicians, their forms elegant and fluid, even in the hard metal. The sound of the cloth against the bronze is a soft and rhythmic hiss, a quiet counterpoint to the distant chanting. He tests the bell with a small wooden mallet, the sound a deep and resonant chime that lingers in the air for a long time. The vibration seems to travel through the very stone of the temple, a call to prayer and reflection. The bronze worker nods in satisfaction, his task nearly complete, and returns to his polishing. The bell will soon hang in the central sanctuary, its voice joining the many others that define the rhythm of the day. You look up toward the highest tower, the central prasat, where the king and the high priests perform the most sacred rituals. The stone work here is even more intricate, with layers of carvings that seem to reach toward the heavens. The air feels thinner and more charged with spiritual energy as you approach the inner sanctum. The transition from the busy courtyards to the quiet of the inner temple is subtle but profound. A large stone basin sits near the entrance to the inner gallery, filled with fresh water and floating jasmine flowers. The scent is delicate and sweet, a cooling balm in the midday heat. You dip your hands into the water, the coolness, a welcome relief, and watch as the ripples spread across the surface. The flowers drift slowly, their white petals a striking contrast to the dark stone of the basin. The shadows in the inner gallery are long and cool, providing a sanctuary from the intense light of the sun. The floor is worn smooth by the passage of countless feet, the stone polished to a dull sheen. You move slowly through the quiet space, the only sound, the soft echo of your own footsteps. The walls are lined with statues of deities, their expressions serene and timeless, watching over the temple with a quiet and eternal grace. You pass an elderly monk sitting by a narrow window, reading from a palm leaf manuscript, his lips moving silently as he recites the ancient words. The light from the window falls across his weathered face, highlighting the lines of wisdom and experience. He does not look up as you pass, his mind focused on the sacred teachings that have guided his life. In this quiet corner, the outside world seems to fade away, leaving only the timeless rhythm of prayer and study. A small ceramic jar of cool water sits on a stone ledge nearby, its surface beaded with moisture. You take a small sip, the water tasting of the earth and the rain, a simple and profound gift. The stillness of the inner temple is deep and pervasive, a silence that is not empty but full of the presence of the divine. You feel a sense of profound peace and connection as you move deeper into the heart of the stone mountain. The carvings on the lintels above the doorways are masterpieces of Khmer art, depicting scenes from the great epics with a breathtaking detail. You can see the individual scales on the serpents and the delicate patterns on the robes of the gods. The skill of the craftsman who created these works is humbling, a testament to their devotion and their artistry. Each stone tells a story, a fragment of a much larger and more complex narrative. You find yourself in a quiet corner of the outer enclosure where the forest has begun to reclaim some of the smaller structures. The roots of giant trees wrap around the stone blocks like slow-motion waves, their strength and persistence a match for the ancient masonry. The sound of the wind through the leaves is a soft and rhythmic rustle, a natural music that complements the silence of the stone. Here the balance between human creation and the natural world is visible and poignant. The path now leads you toward the final threshold, the entrance to the inner sanctum where the most sacred image of the deity resides. The doorway is narrow and tall, framed by intricate carvings that seem to draw you inward. The light within is dim and golden, illuminated by dozens of small oil lamps that cast a soft and flickering glow. As you prepare to enter this most sacred of spaces, you feel the weight of the centuries and the depth of the devotion that has built this magnificent temple. You step across the threshold, leaving the last of the morning breeze behind, and enter the deep, cool stillness of the central sanctuary. The air here is thick with the scent of aged sandalwood and the sweet, heavy drift of jasmine blossoms, piled in soft mounds at the feet of the statues. Your footsteps, softened by the smooth, dark stone, create a rhythm that seems to echo not just in the room, but through the very heart of the mountain itself. The light is different here, no longer the broad, golden sweep of the courtyard, but a collection of small, flickering points of amber cast by oil lamps nestled in the niches of the walls. Each flame dances in the slight draught, casting long, swaying shadows that climb the walls and lose themselves in the vaulted ceiling high above. The ceiling is lost in a velvety darkness, a space where the smoke from the incense risers gathers in thin blue ribbons, before dissipating into the stone. You find yourself standing before the central pedestal, a massive block of sandstone that has held the weight of the divine for centuries. The texture of the stone is rougher here, less polished than the floors, as if it still carries the raw energy of the earth from which it was quarried. Your hand brushes against a cold bronze offering bowl, its surface etched with patterns of lotus petals that feel like braille beneath your fingertips. The silence of the sanctum is not a hollow thing, it is a dense, vibrating quiet, filled with the weight of 1,000 prayers offered in the half-light of dawn. You can hear the distant, muffled sound of a wooden mallet striking a copper gong, a low, resonating pulse that signals the change of the watch. It is a sound that does not break the peace, but rather anchors it, reminding you of the steady, unchanging cycles of the temple's life. As your eyes adjust further to the dimness, you notice the fine gold leaf that clings to the edges of the carvings, catching the lamplight and glowing with a soft, ethereal radiance. The gold is thin, worn away in places by the touch of the faithful, revealing the grey stone beneath like a secret. You move slowly around the central pillar, the air growing cooler as you move further from the entrance, the stone walls radiating a chill that has been stored since the previous night. There is a small, narrow staircase nearby, its steps worn into deep hollows by the passage of generations of priests. You begin to ascend, the climb deliberate and slow, each step requiring a mindful placement of the foot upon the ancient stone. The staircase is narrow, the walls pressing in close, their surfaces smooth and cool against your shoulders as you rise toward the upper levels of the Bakan. With every step, the sounds of the lower galleries fade, replaced by the soft, rhythmic whistling of the wind through the high, perforated stone windows. Reaching the upper terrace, you are greeted by a sudden, breathtaking clarity of light, though the sun is still low enough to keep the shadows long and protective. From this height, the entire complex of Angkor Wat stretches out below you, a vast, geometric forest of stone and water, perfectly aligned with the heavens. The great moat reflects the sky like a mirror of polished silver, its surface unbroken by even the slightest ripple in the early morning air. You lean against a stone balustrade, the sandstone warm now where the sun has touched it, its grain feeling like coarse silk against your palms. In the distance, the forest canopy is a sea of deep emerald, the tops of the trees catching the first hints of a more brilliant daytime gold. You can see the smoke from small fires in the workers' village beyond the walls, thin grey plumes that rise straight into the still air, marking the beginning of the day's labor. Here, above the world, the sense of isolation is profound, a feeling of being suspended between the earthly realm and the celestial path of the sun. Below, in the courtyard of the libraries, a group of young scribes is beginning to gather, their orange robes vivid against the grey masonry. They move with a practiced, quiet efficiency, laying out their palm leaf manuscripts on low wooden tables in the shade of the porticos. You watch as one scribe sharpens a metal stylus against a small whetstone, the faint, rhythmic, rasping sound carrying upward through the clear air. The scent of ink, made from soot and resin, drifts upward, a sharp and earthy contrast to the sweetness of the temple flowers. Inside the library, the shelves are packed with thousands of these manuscripts, each one a repository of lore, astronomy, and sacred song. The rooms are narrow and tall, designed to keep the precious leaves dry and cool, away from the humidity of the jungle floor. You imagine the countless hours spent in this quiet labor, the steady movement of the hand across the leaf, capturing the wisdom of the ages in delicate looping script. The light in the library is filtered through stone lattices, creating a pattern of bright diamonds on the floor that shifts slowly as the morning progresses. A small gecko skitters across the wall, its tiny feet making a dry scratching sound against the stone before it vanishes into a crack between the blocks. It is a reminder that even in this place of monumental permanence, life is small, quick, and ever-present. You descend from the high terrace, returning to the shaded corridors of the second enclosure, where the bas-reliefs tell the story of the churning of the ocean of milk. The carvings here are exceptionally fine. The stone transformed into a fluid, moving tableau of gods and demons pulling at the great serpent. You trace the line of the serpent's body, feeling the rhythmic undulations of the scales, each one carved with a precision that seems impossible for human hands. The figures are alive with motion, their limbs straining, their faces set in expressions of intense focus and divine effort. The light from the courtyard strikes the wall at an oblique angle, highlighting the depth of the carving and making the scene appear to pulse with a slow, stony life. In the corner of the gallery, a stone cistern catches the runoff from a recent rain, the water dark and still, reflecting the intricate carvings of the ceiling above. A single lotus petal floats on the surface, a splash of pale pink against the obsidian depth of the water, perfectly motionless. You pause here, the coolness of the water seeming to seep into the air around you, providing a brief respite from the growing warmth of the day. The sound of a distant bird, a sharp, clear call from the jungle, echoes through the gallery, a reminder of the wild world that presses against the temple's ordered stone. You move toward a series of smaller shrines, tucked away in the shadows of the outer walls, where the atmosphere is more intimate and personal. Here the offerings are simpler, a handful of wild herbs, a small clay lamp, a piece of hand-woven cloth tied around a pillar. These are the traces of the common folk, the builders and the farmers, who find their own quiet corners within the grandeur of the king's mountain. The stone here is stained with the soot of many years of lamps, a dark patina that speaks of centuries of quiet, private devotion. You find a small stone bench, carved into the base of a pillar, and sit for a moment, letting the weight of your body settle into the ancient masonry. The stone is solid and unyielding, yet it feels strangely welcoming, a foundation that has held firm while empires rose and fell around it. From this vantage point, you can see the play of light on the central towers, the stone shifting from a pale, dusty rose to a bright, searing white as the sun climbs higher. The shadows are retreating now, pulling back into the doorways and under the eaves, leaving the open courtyards bathed in a harsh, brilliant clarity. The insects in the trees have begun their daytime chorus, a high-pitched, vibrating hum that fills the air and seems to vibrate in your very bones. It is a sound of immense energy, a stark contrast to the meditative silence of the inner sanctum you left only a short time ago. You watch a butterfly, its wings a brilliant iridescent blue as it flits across the courtyard, landing for a second on the head of a stone lion before vanishing into the sunlight. The lion, weathered by the elements, stares out with blank, unseeing eyes, its mane a stylized swirl of stone that has survived the monsoon rains of 100 seasons. The contrast between the fleeting life of the butterfly and the enduring presence of the stone is a constant theme here, a balance held in perfect, quiet tension. As you stand to continue your journey, you feel a renewed sense of purpose, your movements slow and deliberate, mirroring the pace of the temple itself. The path ahead leads toward the outer gates where the bustle of the city begins to intrude upon the sanctuary's peace, but for now, the stone remains your companion. You pass through a final shaded portico, the pillars casting a rhythmic series of bars across the floor, a visual metronome for your steady, peaceful walk. The air is beginning to shimmer with the first hints of heat haze, blurring the edges of the distant forest and making the stone towers seem to float above the ground. You take a deep, slow breath, the air tasting of dust, sun-warmed stone, and the green life of the jungle, a complex and ancient scent. The transition from the sacred heart of the temple to its outer reaches is a slow unfolding, a gradual return to the world of men and movement. You find yourself walking alongside a long, covered walkway, the roof supported by hundreds of slender, carved pillars that create a forest of stone. The light here is dappled and soft, filtered through the trees that grow just outside the gallery walls, their leaves casting moving shadows on the floor. It is a place of transition, where the order of the temple begins to merge with the beautiful chaos of the natural world, and the spirit finds a quiet place to rest before the heat of the noon sun takes hold. The gallery stretches out before you, a long, rhythmic corridor of light and shadow, where the morning sun pierces through the gaps in the stone pillars. Your footsteps make no sound on the cool stone floor, which has been polished to a dull sheen by the passage of countless feet over the centuries. You feel the slight unevenness of the slabs, each one a testament to the labor of the masons who laid them down so very long ago. The air in this shaded passage is noticeably cooler, carrying the damp, earthy scent of stone that has never fully dried from the morning dew. You walk slowly, letting your hand brush against the surface of a pillar, feeling the grit of the sandstone and the intricate ridges of the carvings. It is a tactile connection to the past, a way to ground yourself in the physical reality of this magnificent structure. To your left, the carvings of the celestial dancers, the apsaras, seem to sway in the shifting light as you move past them. Their faces are serene, their hands held in eternal, delicate gestures that tell stories of a world beyond the physical, a realm of grace and movement. Each figure is unique, with different jewelry, hairstyles and expressions, reflecting the individual hands of the artists who carved them 800 years ago. You pause to look at one particularly detailed dancer, her crown decorated with tiny stone flowers and her skirt flowing in frozen waves. The sunlight catches the golden moss that has begun to grow in the crevices of her arms, adding a touch of living color to the gray stone. It is a beautiful, slow dance of light and art, a performance that has lasted for centuries without ever losing its quiet power. As you reach the end of the covered walkway, the heat of the morning sun greets you with a soft, persistent warmth. It is not yet the heavy, oppressive heat of midday, but a gentle reminder of the power that governs this land, the sun that brings life to the jungle and warmth to the stone. You step out onto the wide, stone causeway that leads away from the central sanctuary, the vastness of the complex opening up before you. The sandstone beneath your feet is warm now, radiating the energy it has gathered since the first light of dawn broke over the horizon. The distant towers of the inner sanctum rise behind you, their shapes becoming more defined and sharp in the clear morning air. You feel a sense of perspective here, a realization of the immense scale of the temple and the ambition of those who built it. Looking back, the 5 towers of the great temple rise against the pale blue sky, their jagged silhouettes softened by the distance and the light. They stand as a mountain of stone, a mirror of the heavens built by human hands and divine inspiration, a landmark that can be seen for miles. The symmetry of the design is perfect, a balance of vertical height and horizontal expanse that creates a feeling of absolute stability and order. You watch a group of birds circling the highest peak, their tiny forms appearing as dark specks against the brilliant clarity of the sky. The towers seem to reach upward, bridging the gap between the earth and the celestial realm, a permanent prayer in stone. It is a sight that commands a quiet, respectful silence, a moment to appreciate the enduring beauty of human creation. The great moat, a vast expanse of still water, reflects the sky and the trees in a perfect mirrored image that stretches toward the horizon. Occasionally, a small ripple breaks the surface as a fish rises, or a water lily sways in a phantom breeze, disturbing the glass-like perfection for a brief moment. The water is a deep, dark green, filled with the life of the wetlands and the reflections of the ancient walls that surround it. You walk along the edge of the embankment, the sound of the water lapping gently against the stone, a soothing, rhythmic accompaniment to your thoughts. The moat was designed to represent the cosmic ocean, a protective barrier that separates the sacred space of the temple from the world outside. It feels like a boundary of peace, a wide liquid belt that keeps the chaos of the world at bay. The sounds of the forest are louder here, at the edge of the sacred ground, where the trees grow tall and thick along the outer walls. You hear the calls of birds hidden deep within the green canopy, their songs weaving together in a complex morning tapestry of whistles, chirps, and long melodic notes. The high-pitched hum of the cicadas has become a steady, vibrating background noise, a sound that seems to rise and fall with the intensity of the sun. It is a living, breathing soundscape, a reminder that while the stone of the temple is silent, the world around it is full of vibrant, pulsing energy. You stop to listen, closing your eyes for a moment to let the sounds of the jungle wash over you, a symphony of the natural world. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and green leaves, a rich, fertile aroma that speaks of growth and renewal. A light wind carries the scent of wood smoke and jasmine from the nearby settlements, a subtle reminder of the life that thrives in the shadow of these great monuments. You can imagine the small villages tucked away among the trees, where families are beginning their daily routines, cooking over open fires and tending to their gardens. The smoke rises in thin blue ribbons above the treetops, a sign of human presence in the vast green landscape that surrounds the temple. It is a connection to the living history of the region, a reminder that the temple was once the heart of a bustling city of 1 million people. Even now, the rhythm of life continues, much as it has for 1,000 years, tied to the cycles of the sun and the seasons. The scent of jasmine is sweet and fleeting, a delicate perfume that drifts on the breeze before vanishing into the morning air. You find a small stone bench near the outer gate, a place to rest and reflect on the journey you have taken through the heart of the temple. The stone is carved with lotus petals, a symbol of purity and rising above the mud, their edges worn smooth by time and the touch of many hands. You sit for a while, feeling the weight of your body settle into the cool, solid support of the ancient masonry, your breath slowing to match the stillness of the stone. From here you can see the main causeway stretching back toward the temple, a line of stone that connects the world of the living with the realm of the gods. The light is bright and clear now, illuminating the textures of the stone and the vibrant greens of the surrounding foliage. It is a moment of perfect quiet contemplation, a chance to let the experiences of the morning settle deep within your mind. The world around you is fully awake now, yet here, within the embrace of the ancient walls, a profound sense of peace remains. It is a stillness that does not depend on silence, but on a deep internal harmony, a feeling that everything is exactly as it should be. You watch the way the light catches the fine details of a carved lintel, the intricate patterns of vines and flowers that seem to grow from the very rock. Each stroke of the chisel was an act of devotion, a prayer preserved in stone for future generations to discover and admire. The artisans who worked here were masters of their craft, turning hard sandstone into a lacework of delicate flowing forms. Their legacy is all around you, a testament to the power of faith and the enduring nature of human creativity. The shadows of the trees are long and thin, stretching across the grass like dark fingers that mark the passage of time in a slow, silent dance. They move so slowly that their motion is invisible, a silent clock marking the progression of the day as the sun climbs higher in the sky. You watch a shadow retreat from a fallen stone block, revealing the intricate carvings of a mythological scene that had been hidden in the darkness. The light brings the story to life, the figures appearing to move as the sun highlights different parts of the relief. It is a reminder that the temple is always changing, its appearance shifting with the light and the seasons, a living monument that is never the same twice. The play of light and shadow is a constant, a rhythmic cycle that has repeated for centuries, day after day. Your breathing is slow and steady, matching the quiet pulse of the earth beneath you and the slow, heavy presence of the stone. There is no hurry, no need to be anywhere else but here, in this moment of perfect clarity and rest. You feel a deep sense of connection to the ground, as if the ancient foundations of the temple are supporting you, holding you steady in a world of constant change. The warmth of the sun on your skin is a comforting weight, a gentle pressure that encourages you to stay still and simply exist in the present. The sounds of the jungle, the scent of the flowers, and the sight of the ancient stone all blend together into a single, unified experience. It is a state of being that is both alert and deeply relaxed, a meditative focus that brings a sense of profound calm. The transition from the sacred to the mundane is a gentle one, a slow fading of the intense focus you felt within the inner chambers of the temple. You carry the stillness with you, a quiet flame that the rising sun cannot extinguish, a reservoir of peace that you can draw upon throughout the day. As you stand up from the stone bench, your movements are slow and deliberate, a continuation of the meditative pace you have maintained since the first light of dawn. The path ahead leads toward the outer gates and the world beyond, but you do not feel a sense of leaving the temple behind. Instead, you feel as if you are carrying a piece of it with you, a memory of the stone and the light that will remain in your heart. The temple is not just a place, but a state of mind, a sanctuary that you can return to whenever you need to find your center. As the morning continues its slow ascent, you feel a deep sense of gratitude for the stone, the light, and the quiet moments of discovery you have experienced. The temple will remain a silent witness to the passing of time, long after the sun has set and the stars have emerged once more. It has stood for 800 years, and it will stand for many more, a permanent reminder of the heights that human spirit can reach. You take a final look at the towers, their grey stone glowing in the full light of the morning, a sight of immense dignity and grace. The jungle may try to reclaim the walls, and the rains may weather the carvings, but the essence of the place remains untouched. It is a monument to the eternal, a space where time seems to slow down and the spirit finds a place to rest. You walk toward the outer gate, the massive stone structure rising up like a mountain pass between two worlds. The gate is guarded by stone lions and nagas, their forms weathered but still powerful, their presence a reminder of the protection that the temple offers to those who enter. The air is warmer now, and the light is a brilliant, searing white that makes the shadows seem even deeper and more inviting. You pass through the cool, dark tunnel of the gateway, the stone walls rising up on either side of you like the walls of a canyon. For a moment, you are back in the shade, the air smelling of ancient dust and cool stone, a final taste of the temple's inner peace. Then you emerge into the full light of the day, the wide world opening up before you once again. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the sun and the sounds of the jungle wash over you in a wave of sensory experience. The memory of the carvings, the scent of the incense, and the weight of the history are all etched into your mind, a rich tapestry of impressions. You can still feel the texture of the stone under your fingertips and the coolness of the inner chambers in your bones. The journey through the dawn has come to its natural conclusion, leaving you in a state of restful awareness and deep inner quiet. The world is bright and full of life, yet the core of your being remains anchored in the peace of the temple, a steady foundation in a shifting world. You are at peace, and the day is yours to experience, one slow, deliberate moment at a time. The stone towers stand tall, eternal sentinels against the sky, as you begin to drift into a deeper, more profound rest. The story of the stone is your story now, a quiet narrative of endurance, grace, and the beauty of the passing moment. You can see the temple in your mind's eye, a mountain of carved sandstone rising out of the green sea of the jungle, a place of light and shadow. The image is steady and clear, a source of comfort and strength that you can carry with you into the world. The sun continues its climb, the world continues its turn, but the peace you have found remains a constant and unchanging presence. You feel a sense of completion, a closing of a circle that began with the first light of dawn over the eastern horizon. Sleep comes easily now, a soft velvet curtain falling over the sights and sounds of the morning, a gentle transition into the world of dreams. The temple fades into a soft blur, a sanctuary of memory where the sun is always rising over the towers and the air is always cool and still. You drift on a sea of quiet thoughts, the rhythm of your breathing a slow, steady pulse that matches the heartbeat of the ancient earth. The stone, the light, and the jungle all merge into a single peaceful image, a landscape of the mind where you are always welcome. There is no more need for words, no more need for movement, only the deep, restorative embrace of a dreamless sleep. You are safe, you are still, and you are deeply, profoundly at rest. The shadows have vanished now, swallowed up by the brilliance of the midday sun. Yet the memory of the morning remains clear and bright. You have walked through the heart of history, touched the stones of an empire, and felt the breath of the divine in the quiet chambers of the temple. It is a journey that has changed you, a slow unfolding of the spirit that has left you feeling lighter and more at peace. The temple of Angkor Wat remains behind you, a silent guardian of the past, while you move forward into the rest of your day or the depth of your night. The light of the sunrise stays with you, a golden glow that illuminates the path ahead and warms the heart from within. As you drift further into the quiet of the night, the sounds of the temple become a distant, soothing hum, a lullaby of stone and wind. You can hear the rustle of the leaves in the trees, the soft lap of the water in the moat, and the distant call of a bird. These sounds are a part of you now, a rhythmic accompaniment to your rest, a reminder of the peace you found at the dawn of the day. The weight of the world has fallen away, leaving only the lightness of being and the serenity of a mind at ease. You are floating in a space of perfect tranquility, a sanctuary of the soul where the only thing that matters is the present moment of peace. The journey is complete and the morning has turned to day. Yet the spirit of Angkor Wat remains a timeless and unchanging presence in the center of your heart. As the last echoes of the narration fade away, you find yourself in a place of total stillness, a deep and quiet rest that will carry you through the night. The stone towers are still there, standing tall against the stars, a silent promise of endurance and the beauty of the dawn. You are at rest, you are at peace, and the world is quiet, wrapped in the soft, protective embrace of the ancient stone. The light of the temple is your light now, a steady flame that will guide you through the dreams of the night and into the light of a new day. Thank you for walking through history with me tonight. Until next time on Quiet History, sleep well.